Is there anything that would disqualify him from your vote?
Hell, keep impeaching him. I mean, keep indicting him. The more you indict him, the more you show how desperately you do not want him in there, the more I want him there.
Why is that? What is it that gives you that fuel from the indictment?
Because they're I'm sorry, they're ridiculous. They're jokes. We should have paper ballots. We should have one day to go in and vote. And if you don't have the time to go vote, why are you even in this country?
Don't you want more people to vote?
I want more legal residents to vote, sure.
Right. But if let's say someone's working 2 jobs, they have to pick their kids up at school and they can't get there to vote on the one day because it's not I mean, I know you want it to be a holiday, but as it is now, and I think a lot of people would agree with you, as it is now, it's not. So isn't expanding voter access important?
Expanding voter access is critically important, but, and I will say this, we've proven to ourselves that we can't be trusted. We've proven it.
How?
Look at the 2020 election. I was a single working mom, 2 kids. My first husband was deployed constantly overseas. And you know what? I made it a priority to be there to vote on voting day.
Right, but wouldn't it have been easier? I'm just asking, wouldn't it have been easier if there were 4 days where you could go in with the same?
You know, I'm sure it wasn't easy for those guys that died in the Revolutionary War. And I'm sure
Nothing, but I think that they probably fought for.
So the least that you can do is show up and vote. For people that have died, so no, I don't buy that. That to me is a joke. If you care about freedom, if you care about...
Well, did they care about freedom?
Absolutely, they died for it.
They were slave owners.
Oh my gosh. So, you know...
No, I'm asking. That's why...
You really want to know who the original slave owners are? I mean, let's talk about the human condition.
I'm just asking. So like out of one side, you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, they believed in freedom.
Slave owners even get into that.
Well, because freedom. That's what I'm talking about. They believed in freedom. I mean, we're in Charleston, right? Yeah. This was the biggest port in America at that time for the slave trade. So I'm asking, when you say that that they believed in freedom, you know, it's a little hypocritical historically, is it not?
Absolutely. Have you read history? I mean, like, let's talk about the Jewish folks. They were slaves for how many thousands of years? Christians were slaves forever.
We can talk about there are many enslaved.
Let's go back. Our founding fathers were indentured servants. Most of them were fleeing the British rule because they were slaves themselves. So I don't buy this whole, you know, it's a challenge and slavery. Listen, the only reason why people are talking about race now, people are talking about slavery now, tell me one person here who has in one generation been a slave to anybody.
Nobody has. I'm just talking. I'm not talking about the founding fathers. I didn't bring them up. I was just asking because you brought up freedom. They believed in freedom.
They did.
So I asked. Yeah.
And they did.
Okay.
And they got it.
Excellent.
You see that ending remark that whoop is conclusive that you're dealing with a Karen. Now, big ups to our colleague who does a remarkable job going into enemy territory and getting these interactions or these reactions. Is good to know because she represents the vast majority of thinking inside of the Trump camp. All right. Make no mistake about it. These individuals believe just like that. And that's the reason you see bigoted conversations becoming legislation. Florida has a law now that says, you know, you got to teach that slavery provided benefit. Well, that's because they say that stuff at their dinner tables at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. on a standard weekday. That's the reason. So now you literally see the conversations of bigots now permeating into statutory law. All right. Obviously, somebody needs to get her a history book and a clue. She has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. But here's the thing. It is what she believed. And it doesn't matter what facts you present because she's indoctrinated. What does indoctrinated actually mean? Indoctrinated simply means you no longer have the ability to critically think about what you believe. That's all it means. You do not have the ability to critically think about what you believe. You can be very common sense about everything else, cause and effect, logical. You can come across as, you know, a reasonable human being, except in the places you are indoctrinated. And this is what's happening inside of the Trump camp. And listen, the danger is they are among us. They are our coworkers. They are our judges. They are attorneys. They are school teachers. They're the person driving next to you. They're the person serving you your food. The personality permeates in the culture. All right. Aida, thoughts here?
It's so funny because these people, they are so contradictory within their own group.
Yes.
Like, Larry Elder, she is part of the problem because she's a single mother. Right?
Right.
Yeah, they look down on her and they're like, you're part of the reason why society is a mess because you can't keep a husband, girl. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that these people that are around, they're dangerous. They weaponize themselves. When we talk about white women, which, I always marvel at the fact that some of them side with the men who actually proverbially sit them in the back of the bus as well.
Yep.
And make them second-class citizens. The fact that they come over to us and then they want to bask in the victimhood of being minorities, but when these people show up and they have the opportunity to weaponize their whiteness against us, they do it, and they do it proudly and loudly. And so when I see this woman talking about, first of all, you said it, you know it better than I do. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But secondly, the fact that she's so loud about it, like that, the fact that she's so, the cult is real. And when we say it's a cult, people are to think that is hyperbole. No, this is a cult. These people really believe, these things that they say. Nobody oppresses that group more than the people that they worship. Nobody insults their intelligence more than the people that they worship, because they know that they feed them whatever bull and they will buy it. And it's easy to move them because they don't think for themselves. Meanwhile, they are also the victims of what's happening by way of these people. They don't have health care, the proper health care. They don't have they don't have the resources to have the best life that they can. But what I feel that it is in my soul is that they rather bite their noses to spite their faces, because racism is not a deal breaker for them because they participate in it heavily. So they will rather struggle, but as long as they feel like they're better than us, they all right.
You know what? You hit that out the park. That is so true. And it was done by design. They will vote against their own self-interest because they think it adversely impacts people who are Black. And because of that, they will be okay with it, knowing that they would benefit from the social, from the economic, from the access to education in ways that would significantly transform their personal lives. But because it would help those who are people of color too, they would vote against their own self-interest, believing that somehow their white skin is superior, and they're still voting along the lines of their white skin. Yep. It's insane.